This method replaced my journaling. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still doing a lot of self-reflective practice, but we're upgrading it this year. AI has become a much more prominent part of all of our lives, and I think we hear a lot of things about using it to work faster and be more productive. But have you ever considered that you can use it for your personal growth? Today, I'm going to dive into some of the simple ways that I have used AI for my own personal growth and development. These are easy ways that you can use AI to help change the way that you're showing up in your day-to-day life and help improve your ways of thinking. AI offers a huge opportunity for you, and if you don't understand how to use it, you're gonna miss out on that opportunity. So stick around today. I'm gonna give you the simple strategies that you can implement today. Upgrade your life a little bit with AI. Welcome to the Mindset Gym podcast, where we exercise your way of thinking to help unlock your hidden potential. I'm your host, Emily Irwin, a registered nurse and holistic nutritionist with a passion for all things health, fitness, and personal development. All right, let's get into it. Hi guys, welcome back to the Mindset Gym podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We are talking about AI today. Now, listen, I'm not a technology expert. I probably don't know everything that there is to know about AI, but over the past year or so, I have been making an effort to use it to my advantage and use AI as a means of improving myself and improving my ways of thinking, improving the ways that I show up in relationships. And so I'm going to take you through some of the ways that I've been using AI for my own personal growth, because these are things that you can implement today as well. And they're things that you're probably missing out on. You probably haven't thought that you can use AI in this way. And it's a really awesome way to just upgrade your life. Now, before I get into this, I do want to say a disclaimer. AI is a tool. It's a very useful tool, but it's not a replacement for a therapist or a licensed professional. If you have a serious mental health disorder or you're trying to work through things like really serious childhood trauma, I'm not recommending that you use AI as a means to do this. Ali Abdaal had a really good way of breaking this down. He said to think of AI as a really smart friend that you would trust to go to with a problem, but a friend who has no professional qualifications. So you would maybe go to them to ask tips about productivity and mindset, but if you were clinically depressed and dealing with thoughts of suicide, you probably wouldn't go to this friend for advice. You'd probably go to a licensed professional. So I want you to think about it in the exact same way. We are not using this as a replacement for licensed professional help. If that's what you need, seek that out from a professional. Anything else? We're going to talk about it today. And the first way I'm going to dive into that you can use AI for your own personal growth, and this might sound a little unhinged, but I promise you it's super useful, and that is role-playing with AI. And I'm going to tell you how I do this. So the most common way that I will put this into practice is if I have to have a really difficult conversation, I will go to something like ChatGPT and put in all of the characteristics of the person I'm going to be talking to, and statements, points, rebuttals, anything that I think this person may say to me during this conversation. So I give it all the information that I possibly can about the other person I'm going to be talking to. And then we start role playing. And so we'll go through a conversation and I'll say to ChatGPT what I'm planning on saying to this person, and they will respond to me as if they are that person. And then we can start having a back and forth dialogue. And then at the end of the conversation, what I will ask it to do is I will ask it to review the entire conversation and tell me how it thinks I'm showing up, and if there's anything that it thinks I can fix about this dialogue in order to have a more productive conversation. And the one thing I want to add here is chatbots, AI, they typically want to give you answers that you like. It wants to, build you up and give you answers that are going to make you happy. So prompt it in a way that it's going to be honest with you. So ask it to be brutally honest. Ask it to not hold back. Ask it to not be afraid to hurt your feelings. Specify that you want really brutally honest feedback, and then it will give you that. It will break down the entire conversation and tell you all the points where you are maybe setting yourself up for failure. And I like to use this for really difficult conversations, but you can use this for any sort of conversation that you're nervous about. Let's say you have a job interview coming up. Put in the characteristics of the person that you think is going to be interviewing you and common questions that you think you may get asked, and then role play the interview. Give it all your answers and then let it tell you how you could answer those questions better in order to improve your chances of getting the job. You can do this with any conversation. So yeah, don't sleep on role playing with AI because it's actually super helpful. And the way that I like to do this is I like to use the voice to text feature because I find, at least for myself, if I'm typing everything out, I'm kind of thinking it over and tweaking things and changing things a lot more. And it's going to sound a little bit different than it would if I am just speaking it out loud. And typically these conversations that I'm actually having with the real person, I'm speaking them out loud. So if I use the voice to text, it's getting a more authentic response that more closely matches what I'm actually going to be saying in the conversation, and it can give me better advice. The next thing that you can use it for is goal planning. And this is a really great one because we are just in the middle of January, we are just getting into the new year, and so this is kind of that time of year where everybody is setting goals and setting resolutions and wanting to change a whole lot of things. And I think a lot of times it can be really exciting to have all these really big things on your resolution list and all of these big things you want to achieve. And you set the goal, but you forget to actually create a plan. And so when it comes to actually putting these things into action to get to your end goal, a lot of us don't really know where to go, and we end up just kind of spinning our wheels, and this ends up being the thing that causes us to throw in the towel eventually because we're aimlessly trying to figure it out without any structured direction. So the way that I want you to use AI for this is I want you to go into it and I want you to tell it what your goals or resolutions are for this year. Tell it your time horizon. Tell it what a typical day looks like for you, how much time you think you have to dedicate to this thing, what your current routines are, and then ask it to break down how you can change your daily habits or how you can fit things in order to work towards this goal. And it will break down an entire plan for you. It will take it down to the nitty-gritty and give you the daily routine that you need to do day after day in order to get to that end goal. So then you're not working with some abstract thing. You're not just trying to figure it out as you go. You've broken it down to the small steps and you have an actual daily plan that you can put into practice. That'll make it so much easier for you to actually achieve the things that you're wanting to achieve this year. The next thing that I like to do with AI is I like to use it for financial planning. I'll explain the main way that I like to do this, but there's also another way that I think you could put this into practice. So the primary way that I like to use it is to help me with my investment planning. And the way that I do this is I will go in and I will say, I'm 28 years old now. This is how much I have in my investment portfolio. This is the typical annual return of my investment portfolio. This is how much money I hope to have by this age in my investment portfolio. How much money do I need to be investing and how frequently do I need to be investing in order to reach that goal? And so it'll break down all the numbers for me and it will give me a structured plan of every time you get paid, this is what you need to put in order to achieve that goal that you're hoping to achieve 10, 20, 30 years down the line. So it just makes it a lot easier. So you're not working with abstract goals. You're not working without a structured plan. It's given you all of the steps that you need in order to actually put this into practice. The other way that you can use this for financial planning is if you are someone who is really struggling to get a grasp on their finances and is really struggling with knowing where to go to ChatGPT and put in all the information. So what your annual income is, what consistent expenses do you have? So rent, mortgage, car payments, phone payments, anything that you know you're going to have to pay. Put in how much money you're spending typically on things like groceries and gas and, just fun day-to-day expenses. Put in any debt that you have and ask it to talk to you as if it's a financial planner. And then it can give you structured advice as if you're talking to a financial planner to help you navigate what to do with your finances. I'm going to make sure I kind of put a highlighter underneath this one thing because this is going to make a huge difference in what kind of advice AI gives you. Is if you are looking for specific advice, prompt it to give you advice as if you're talking to a professional in that area. So again, like I just said, if you're looking for financial advice, ask it to talk to you like a financial planner. If you're looking for advice about habits or mindset, ask it to talk to you like a therapist or a life coach. If there is someone on the internet that you really look up to that gives really good advice, ask it to talk to you like it's that person. If you're looking for advice related to a certain job, ask it to talk to you like the CEO or the manager of that particular area, and it will start tailoring its advice to match what you would get from someone in that profession. So you'll just get a lot more specific steps when you give it that prompt. The more detail you can give AI, the better, because then it has a better idea of which direction to go and how to word the recommendations that it gives you. And again, kind of like I said at the beginning, don't take AI's recommendations as gospel. This is kind of a practice. This is a good way to get suggestions and to kind of have something hold up a mirror to you. It will ask you reflective questions to work through things. The goal is for you to gather information and then figure out the direction to go on your own. So this is just helpful information gathering. You don't have to follow everything it tells you to a T. It just gives you a good baseline of where to start. The next way that you can use AI to help with personal growth and development is if you're in a situation with another person where you are really struggling to understand their point of view and understand where they're coming from, and it's causing a consistent roadblock in the conversation, you can use AI to break down the entire dynamic and ask it to give you suggestions of what this other person might be feeling, what they might be experiencing, and where they might be coming from in that conversation. And you can try and prompt this kind of conversation with the other person ahead of time and try and take steps to actually understand them in the conversation. But a nice advantage to using AI for this is you can ask a lot more probing questions and ask a lot more questions than you'd be able to with somebody that you're actually talking to face to face. Because sometimes if you want a really detailed explanation and you really want to try and understand what's going on, it's going to require you to ask many questions. And you bombarding another person with all of these questions may come off as scary and annoying. So you're not going to freak AI out by doing this. So this is the nice advantage, is you can ask it as many questions as you need to clarify what might be going on. The next thing you can do is brain dump to AI and then ask it to break down what you've talked about. So if there is something going on that is really emotionally charged, if there's something that's really weighing heavy on your brain, dump the entire thing into AI and ask it to break down what themes are coming up for you, what things might be triggering these emotions, and ask it to help you work through all of what's going on. Again, this is something I like to do with the voice to text feature, is I will just turn the little voice record thing on and just start talking and just get out everything that's on my mind, and it will transcribe the entire thing for me, and then we can start working back and forth and I can gain a better understanding of what is triggering the feelings that I'm having. And this is a really nice way to do this because AI is not judgmental. This is not like you going and venting to somebody else and having to work through it with somebody else. You're not getting someone else's judgments. You don't have to worry about how you're being perceived. You can just lay it all out and be completely honest, and then ask it to give you really constructive feedback. Again, ask it to talk to you like a therapist and see if it can identify what is coming up for you, what is making you think in this pattern, what things from your past might be bringing up the feelings that you're having now. The next way you can use AI is to help identify your values. There is a lot of talk, I have heard this from a lot of different places, of navigating your daily routines and navigating the way that you show up based on your core values and having those kind of be the guiding principles that dictate how you show up in your life. The problem is we don't always know what our values are, and we haven't always taken time to sit down and figure them out. And this is not always an easy practice to do. I know in the past I have tried to sit down and just write, these are what my core values are. And I think there can be this inclination to write down values because we think that they will be more socially accepted, because they're the more popular values to have, because everyone else you know has similar values to this. I don't want you to do that. Instead, what I want you to do is I want you to go to AI and I want you to break down what things you really appreciate, what things you really look for in life, what your goals are for the coming year, what you want your life to look like 10, 20 years from now, What things about your day-to-day routine do you really appreciate? What about your relationships do you really appreciate? Lay out anything and everything that you can about your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, how you want your life to look, and then ask it to break down for you what your core values are. And it will start analyzing all of the things, all of the information that you've given it, and can give you a much clearer breakdown of what your values actually are, because they might be a little different than you think. And then you can use those core values as a way to help guide your action, because now you know what things are the most important to you. And the last way that I've been using AI to help with my own personal growth and development is using it as your cheerleader. And let me explain what this means. I want you to give it all of the information about the person you are trying to become. Describe in substantial detail who this person is, how this person shows up day to day, what goals this person has, what milestones this person has accomplished, what relationships this person has, every single thing about the person that you're trying to be. Put it into something like ChatGPT, and then ask it to break down what habits you need to take, what steps you need to take in order to become that person. Ask it to break down to the nitty-gritty a plan for you. This is kind of similar to asking it to help you out with your habits, is it can break it down to the really small details and give you really actionable steps that you can take today, because you're not operating on ambiguity anymore. You're operating with a very clear plan. And another thing that you can do is you can ask it to remind you. You can ask it to give you prompts on a regular basis to keep you on the right track and keep reminding you of what you're trying to do. Okay? These are simple. These are things, honestly, there is a lot of paid versions of AI. There's a lot of different tools out there that you can use. If you want to get them, if you want to try them, amazing. Honestly, I have just been doing all of these things with the free version of ChatGPT, and I find them super useful. So put these into practice and see how they level up your personal growth and development, because this is such an underrated tool for propelling you into the person and the lifestyle that you want to achieve. I want to see you hit your goals this year. I want to see you end 2026 as the person that you are dying to be. And this is your way of getting there. This is going to be your toolkit this year. So don't sleep on it. Use it as your companion to get to where you want to go. There is so much utility available to you just in your phone, just in your pocket. It's super easy to put into practice, okay? Let me know if you try any of these things out. Drop it in the comments and let me know how you found it helped you and what difference it made to the way that you showed up in your day-to-day life. I would love to hear how you are putting these strategies into practice. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you later this week. Hey, thanks for listening to the show. If you like the episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a review, or share the show with a friend. Your support helps the show reach even more incredible people just like you. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time at the Mindset Gym.